JJ, so I feel totally emboldened wearing La DoubleJ with your patterns. I feel like a new woman, but I feel like myself as you look completely like yourself. And I think that's the biggest testament to a designer that we can say is that you make me feel like a better version of myself.
I mean, bringing out the best in yourself, I think, is why we decorate ourselves, our bodies, our environments. It's an expansion of what we have inside of ourselves. That's why different people are connected to different patterns or different colors or different tones, or some people want an all white clean space because they've got rainbows going on the inside of themselves.
But not you here. Not you here. There are no white walls here.
There's not a single white wall.
But when you found this place, I really want to give tribute to you arriving here, not speaking really any Italian.
But that was 23 years ago. So this apartment I did 5 years ago.
Okay, so you were more imbued into the spirit of this country and the culture. However, you did everything, right? I mean, you really manifested this to make it reflect like just a perfect extension of you.
But you know what's great about this house is that it really reflects how I work as a creative person, which is always in collaboration. So I never farm out a job to an architect, to a designer, whether that's in my own business or with my homes. I'm always collaborating. And this is just the way I love to walk through the world. I think getting other people's ideas, listening. I'm so curious. When I did my first house in Milan, I was interviewing all of the shopkeepers in Milan. Like, I didn't have any design experience. I didn't have any interiors experience. And I would just go into my favorite shops, become friends with the owner, talk to them, ask them questions. And I got a ton of advice, and then I would go home and like do it myself. And then by the time I did this house, it had been after my career as a journalist, and I knew so many more people, designers and architects and shopkeepers. And so I was able to call on friends. I had a friend here called Raimondo Garau, who's an amazing antique dealer. And he provided several things for me for this house. But then he also would be like a sounding board of like coming over when I was doing the paint, developing the color of the paint for this wall. He was like, oh no, a little bit more gray. Oh no, a little bit more brown with our paint guy. And then I had another artist friend who came over and did the stars, the gold foil stars that are on the ceiling of my meditation room. Emiliano Salci from Dumore Studio came over and gave me tips on like the exact shade of green to have in my guest room. So the whole house, practically in every single room, there's the imprint of some friend or artist or creative person, and
that's helped create you here. You know what's interesting is that you started out as a journalist, and then you segued obviously into fashion. But what I love is that the way a journalist pulls quotes to incorporate into their story, you pulled artisans to make your story of your life here.
I mean, this yellow sun was done by one of my energy healers in Milan. So, I mean, literally, like, my energy healer is also an artist in here. Those two he did as well.
I feel great energy here. And a lot of the things in here, wouldn't you say most are vintage? I mean, how much here did you even buy? I mean,
the only thing that I bought in this room that's brand new is this Vincent van Dusen couch from our farm. The carpet is vintage. These are Carlo Ratti chairs. I mean, some things are well known or more valuable, let's say. And then there's a lot of like super rinky-dinky, really rinky-dinky vintage flea market finds. You know, I know how frustrating it can be when people tell you, oh, everything's vintage. And as a shopper or someone who's in the midst of redecorating their house, all they want to do is get it done now. Mm-hmm. And it does take so much more effort. Not only does it take more effort, it takes a lot more patience, because the vintage gods do not deliver everything on a platter in one place. Like, this is a process. You ultimately go to a vintage fair or a shop, and I always tell people, don't even have something in mind, because when you go looking for something specific,
You won't find.
you will never find it. You have to literally, I started kind of like imbuing my spiritual practice with my vintage practice, and it was amazing what happened, because I literally would like walk into a fair or walk into an antique market or a shop and be like, oh, what does the universe wish to present me with today? And then it would be like, ding, 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 ding. I'd be like, oh, I didn't know I needed these curved walnut chairs from Carlo Ratti. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't know I needed a unicorn needlepoint. I definitely need a unicorn needlepoint.
Every antique store in the world is like, thank you, JJ, right now. Thank you
It's
for
a
that.
very, and vintage was how I started my business. I began as a vintage collector in the late 90s when I was living in New York. And I would go to the Chelsea flea market. I had never seen anything like this in my entire life. And it illuminated me from within. I would just go and spend hours watching. I wasn't even buying. Sometimes I would buy a 40 € vintage, fur coat back in the day. But I was electrified.
I often say to Stacy, I know someone has done a wonderful job with their home. Two things. I feel like I could meet them for the first time after seeing their home without them at a place in a crowded room of 100 people, and I would know who it is. For example, I could do a tour in here without you in here, and I could go into the largest restaurant in Milan and find you after being in here without you. And that's a successful transfer of your creativity here. Number two, I feel like I get a deep emotion. Like I'm very emotional here, like I'm very charged right now because somebody has lifted me up with their way of moving in the world at home.
That's our mantra and our motto and our mission at DoubleJ, to raise your vibration. So I'm thrilled to hear that is successfully coming across. That's what we're trying to do in the store. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, you definitely feel it. There's happiness when you walk in that store. And it's not just about prettiness. It's an extension of how you've come your way through the world. And you want to get people into patterns and colors.
Honestly, it's about translating the frequency of joy into product, but doing it in a way that is comfortable and accessible, and that doesn't feel intimidating, or it doesn't feel like you can't sit with us. Just to say that that's really the intentionality, but to also blend that joy with extreme beauty and radical quality. We are making a very high-end luxury good product in Italy. So I'm really trying to create a company that has a mission that feels positive, like we're really giving something back to people. So there's lots of different ways in. You can buy something obviously at a lower price point, like a makeup bag, or even one of these little sippers here that we have, which I love, these Murano glasses. These were intended to be aperitif sipping glasses, like which you could have for whiskey. You could have your ginger juice in here, but they make great bud vases as well.
Fantastic bud vases.
But we're also trying to do things that allow people to engage with the maximalism, with the pattern, with the print, with the color in a way that makes them feel comfortable.
Well, that jacket, you were like, let's put that jacket on this dress this morning. And I think a lot of people would think, but it doesn't go. And it has nothing to do with going. Of course it looked amazing. And it each brought out the best in the other.
Yeah. People are always asking me, how do you mix prints? A floral and a geometric, you kind of can't go wrong. That's always a good rule of thumb. And then also to change the scales. So this is a print that you're wearing where the pattern is quite tight, whereas that geometric was more open.
Wide. Yes, so they could play.
Exactly, so they can play. And then the last thing is you had a similar color scheme happening. The jacket was taupe. There's a little bit of taupe here, but then it had both the cream as well as the brick red and the black.
Right.
So you're working with the similar tones, and they're speaking a similar language.
When you were doing the tabletop in the store, there was a fearlessness of mixing and matching those patterns too. And I hope that everyone can see this tour today and kind of meet you through us and feel not so fearful about
Well,
mixing
totally.
things at home or on, in their outfits that don't worry so much about what goes.
I always say at DoubleJ, we're about degrees of maximalism, and you can opt in wherever you are. So there's so many different ways to do it. And the same with the tabletop, which we can go in and see if you want.
Oh yes, let's go. Let's go. I want to see what the table you set.
So here, I mean, I've set you a very maximal table. This is, and not only have I set a maximal table, I've done it in a way, in a room
Oh my
that
gosh.
is also very maximal.
First talk about the wallpaper. What made you choose this? Because this is the ultimate first setting.
So I didn't choose this. I actually had it designed based on these collages that I had found when I was in Bali. And I sent them to this artist friend of mine, and she just began drawing from these. I brought the collages into my design studio, and I kept pushing my team. I was like, can't we do something with this? Can't we do something with this? And they were like,
you mean for a dress?
Yeah, and they weren't feeling it.
Interesting.
It was so weird. I was like, guys, this is amazing. And they were not feeling it. They were not feeling it. And then I was like, okay, screw them. I'm taking this home and I'm doing something great with it.
And now you live with it every day.
Yeah, it's so fun. And the crazy thing is, I'm going to show you an error in the room, just because I think that when people are decorating, especially by themselves, it's nice to just give yourself a break. I was the one here doing the measurements because the artist did the design, and then I worked with these artisans in Italy who actually took the artwork and created the panels to then put in this room.
Okay.
Because it was custom made for this room. So I was the one who measured everything, and you can tell
I'm very impressed by that.
I made a mistake.
I can't even tell you what this room would look like if I had measured it. That looks pretty professional to me.
So this border should be right in the corner.
That's one of my favorite parts.
It's totally fine. But that's a really good example of just like,
who
give
cares?
yourself a break.
But
give
sorry,
yourself a break.
One of the things when I walked in this room, one of the first things I noticed and loved was that the border was here.
Amazing, you noticed. I love that.
So I love the width to this room, how it's very simple, and yet it's like.
So that is a chandelier that I found in a garage warehouse in Milan. And this was, in that warehouse, a pile in a bag of all of these glass tubes that had been individually wrapped in like grocery brown bag paper, and with like writing all over it, like, and I had to individually unwrap all of those and visualize what this would look like. And I brought it home. It was great.
This is a perfect representation of how you move through the world. Now, talk to me about how you set a table, because it's very much an extension of how you yourself dress, full of pattern and layers and colors.
Okay, so I have set for you an absolutely maximalist setting. And this is kind of the most of what I would do. I wouldn't go any fuller or more mixing of prints than this. Already, this is tanta roba, as the Italians say. Tanta roba means like, that's a lot, like you got a lot going on.
I'm surprised that the Italians even have a word for that, because they're always
they
about
say tanta
more
roba.
and more. Okay.
Tanta roba.
So I think it's so perfect. It's just on that point.
I feel like it really reaches that point. I mean, when I'm trying to judge whether something is too much, it's a very somatic experience. It's not a mental experience. So if things feel good in my body and there's a clear energy flow, then I know that the equilibrium, what we call in the ancient Egyptian mystery school, the ma'at, the harmony has been reached. So for me, this feels really good.
Certainly does to me too.
Again, you're working with the florals and geometrics, so you can see the geometrics in the napkins. You can see the florals that we've got going on with the table linens, but also with this libellula. It's a dragonfly pattern. It's one of our most successful homeware elements.
Don't
And
you love that you get to design tabletop too now?
it's so
I mean,
fun.
isn't it so much fun?
No, I mean, my favorite, like, look how cute she is.
I can't even. I would put like little rings or
She
jewelry
is
in that.
the cutest thing ever. So, but that's also what's really fun is that this is a bread plate, but for me, this is where I throw my rings. Like, here you go.
Exactly.
You just want to throw your rings on
Well,
that.
just the way that
No?
those glasses were meant to be, quote, for glasses, but you're using them for bed glasses. Things
Totally.
are multi-purposeful.
And that's a very good summation of what my intention is at DoubleJ. You know, we want to give you value. We want to give you a bang for your buck, but we also just want the products to have a dual life. So most of the dresses are meant to take you from morning to night.
For sure, this could.
I mean, you could go with your trainers in that.
I feel like I want to sleep in this tonight in my hotel bed. I mean, it's that jersey, cozy, and I always call it, it's hard I don't often meet dresses that are one and done, but I call them one and done. You put it on and you're done. You like the details. And I mean, look at that on you.
So this again is something that if I wore a cozy long cardigan with this and trainers and like my camel hair coat, that's one look. If I put on a heel and I've got the jewels and I've got the makeup and the hair, like suddenly this is a super cocktail look. And that's the same with yours.
Same with that too.
And that's the same with this little
everything has another purpose
amazing
or another way
little
to be.
Exactly, like these little bud vases. These are those cute little babies. Here we have a little baby egg. Here we have our baby spring onion.
I mean, look at
fun.
These are the perfect. You can't set a table unless you've got the stuff. So it doesn't have to be expensive, but it's so worth it. The way that people can really create a fun table, I always encourage them. Make sure to have all the little things because that's what brings the delight. It's not just about the pattern of the plate. This is where all the fun happens when you can add these little delicious details that you have, right?
And obviously, you know, the table right now has been set in a way that is very full. So we've actually got, you know, you've got your wine glass and your water glass together with your espresso cup. Mm-hmm. You've got your dinner plate, your soup plate, your bread plate together with your dessert plate. Most people don't set the table when people come with all this stuff on it. I mean, you can easily take away your dessert plates
but
here.
I think this is kind of fun. I mean, you're inspiring me to, lay it all out.
Lay it all out. You know, we also, you know, these are traditionally ashtrays, but these are great goodie jars, but these are also great aperitivo dishes for your olives or your taralli.
Exactly, I was just thinking that. I want to use it for a million billion. Also, how about when you come in to your entry at home and there's a place for the keys?
Totally.
You always want that dish to have some kind of fun excitement
Volta
to it.
Tasca, and I'll show you, we have a whole new Guardian collection that is dedicated to that as well.
Do you ever pinch yourself that here you are running, you're CEO of Joy, really, of you, an extension of yourself. You started as a journalist and now you've got this, it's more than a brand. Brand almost demeans what you are and what you're doing. Did you ever expect that? I mean, you really kind of manifest it for yourself, but still, it has to be a pinch me moment sometimes.
It's a total pinch me moment, especially because I think that what happens is once you kind of get in touch with your energy body, your spirit body, your soul, etc., things start moving that your mind is maybe not aware of. So I think I was planting seeds for this a long time ago without having the consciousness about it. So when you ask me, did I ever have that in mind? Absolutely not. And also when I started DoubleJ, this was, you know, a online magazine featuring all these creative women of Milan where I was selling vintage clothing and jewelry.
Yeah, you weren't designing clothes.
No, this is a totally new world. And so I never had that in mind. But I think that, and this is what my book, Mama Milano, is all about, is the idea of when you're creating something new. And this was such a hard lesson for me because I had come from this period of like great disappointment and pain over not being able to get pregnant, and working with my first energy healer allowed me to open to what creations did want to come through. instead of focusing on like, why is this not happening? Why can't
But
I
wait,
force this?
that's the equivalent of when you told me in a much more superficial way, don't go to the flea market with, I'm looking for that.
Yeah.
Because
you have to be open.
There's other things. So you were looking for that one thing, and
Yeah.
it was continual disappointment, but something else came out that
Exactly.
you brought home.
And this is what we have to remember. If you get yourself into that energetic of, number one, forgiveness and compassion, that like, you're not able to do what you think you should be doing. That's number one. Then opening to wonder and curiosity about what does want to go through. And then number three, focusing on your joy rockets, the things that really like make you go like that, which for me at the time was vintage. Then you're going to start creating from a very pure place. And the creations that are coming through you they're packing a way more powerful punch. So DoubleJ was a joy baby. She came through as like this place of just, it feels like this amazing, tree of life. I mean, that she just has this like, because that's where I didn't create her from a place of fear and needing it to look like this. And oh my gosh, we have the business plan and these people invested and they need their money back in 3 years. We didn't do that. It was I really went with the flow on it. And from the vintage and the content, then came the first dress and then came the homeware. And now we're like a consciousness raising empire.
Well, of course.
In our own way. I use that word empire, meaning like me and my 75 employees. But
you're kind of a CEO of something much different than you started, as I said, as a journalist, seeking stories, seeking love, seeking fulfillment of some kind. And then you ended up finding so much about yourself here. And then I really feel like you're sharing it now.
I'm trying to, because what I found was that during COVID, the same woman that was coming to us for that dress and who was attracted to our uplifting, mood boosting fashion, she was also very interested in learning about tools, techniques, and teachers that could raise her vibration in a way that wasn't about buying something. So it gave me the opportunity to really share, as I mentioned, those tools, the techniques, the teachers that had benefited me in my darkest hours. And I had many over my lifetime. And I developed this whole arsenal and this Rolodex of people and all of these different practices that had been so beneficial. And so I just started casually and spontaneously sharing them on Instagram. And then we ended up having online workshops with women. And then when we opened up our Milan store, which you saw, the Divine Mother Cave
now
downstairs,
you have a literal place where people can, you must be the only place where people can literally try on clothes and also have a kind of spiritual awakening in their
You're
ways.
trying on clothes next to Mother Mary, Isis being the mother figure in the ancient Egyptian mystery school, Kuan Yin, Kali, Green Tara, a whole bunch of archangels, and you're in a setting that is a bat cave. So,
and you're like kind of all, even when you're not there, you're very much there.
Yeah, well, because we have anchored in, by now, in the last 4 years, we've had over 200 spiritual events and activations and workshops, whether that's something very small, like a gathering of 20 people. Last night in the store, we had energetic calligraphy being done. We've had breathwork sessions. We have a weekly yoga class there for my friend Marco, who lost his studio during COVID. We give it to him as one of our philanthropic moves. We've had sound healings, we've had crystal healings, we've done multidimensional channelings. So many energy codes have been grounded into that space. That's why people go and they feel fantastic.
Yeah, that is. And your great clothes too. And your insight and creativity of what you literally have manifested there.
It's really about, honestly, let's share the joy, let's share the beauty, let's share the connectivity, let's make human beings feel good about themselves. So much about fashion is feeling bad about yourself. That's why you're buying. to fill this like void, this vast hole inside yourself. We need to come from a place of abundance and a place of real uplifting. Raise your vibration. I have all different kinds of dinner parties here in this house. It's a big house. I love to entertain. I love to host people. Sometimes I call it the healer hostel with the amount of healers that I have staying with me. But when I do dinner parties, either I'll do something very formal and set like this, in which case this table then becomes like the service for the bar area. I love an open bar where people can serve themselves and pick their own glasses. So we have so many different kinds of glass shapes, glass colors. And as we were talking about before, there's so many different ways you can use them. I mean, this is great for a liqueur, but this is also a great bud vase. These are great for flowers, water, wine, highball, Diet Coke, vodka tonic. I mean, these are just the chicest champagne coupes. I love them. Water, wine goblets. And then I love to set up the serving platters here. We'll bring the food here. People can set up their own plates and go. It's just fun to show your serving table in a way that just feels very exciting from a color and pattern standpoint. And then I love the little details like around the house of just things that are really personal to me. These were made for DoubleJ as we were trying to find a ceramic maker. But then these little salt and pepper, these are, a friend of mine gave these to me because of Peps, who I adore. And I wanted to also show you some of these. These are amazing. They were found by the man that I told you that had the antique store. They come from another Milanese apartment from the same year, 1910. And so they're the original fixtures. And I have 4 of these chandeliers in the house, and they look so medieval.
They're incredible. I'm dying to show people how you recovered vintage chairs in the DoubleJ pattern. Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
like so
we'll
fun.
go into the kitchen. So there's lots of different like closets and.
What's amazing about this kitchen I read is that this is vintage.
I priced out a high-end IKEA kitchen, and then I found this through my friend who is an antique dealer. He's like, I'm in a woman's home and she's got an old polyform kitchen from the 1990s.
We love this person. Were they this color?
Yeah, everything was identical. And I also, this is something in Italy that I like a lot. I feel like there's a lot more recycling and less waste. But so this kitchen is a mix of this vintage 1990s, but then you have the sort of, late 19th century cabinet, Danish cabinet, and then you have these tonne chairs, which I found on a website during COVID. And then I used the DoubleJ fabric that we normally are using for our pants, shot cotton. It's like a heavy, thick fabrication that we used as the chairs. I love this.
Shout out to your eye, because most people, probably 99.9% of the people in this universe, would never, ever think that it was okay to choose a pattern that has a light pink in it. How could it possibly correspond with this and these
light
walls?
Pink looks amazing. Like I love the dusty rose with the burgundy.
I never thought I loved this color until I came into this room. So you've inspired me, and I know
Dirty
you owe
pink.
others. Dirty pink with that, but also this looks better because it doesn't go absolutely perfectly. It's not the exact same. It should never.
Well, we do that a lot with when we're mixing and matching the clothing at DoubleJ. Though, as I mentioned, the jacket that you were wearing, it has some of the same colors, but not all. And then it's kind of a similar thing, but it doesn't have to be identical.
It shouldn't really be, right? Because that's what gives it that energy play when it's not an exact fit. It's so special. And I love how you hung the plates along the wall.
So these are all throwaways, meaning there was a problem with the color or the quality. So they're all second choice.
Oh, of plates these are your plates?
Yeah, these are DoubleJ plates.
And they look vintage.
I know, they're all kind of mistakes, let's say.
And they so don't look like mistakes.
Yeah.
So fun.
And then I'm obsessed with all of our Murano glass that we blow. You find it, there's a collection of glass in the living room and in the hallway. I just find it so uplifting and very high vibration in terms of but just the color that spins through glass is just remarkable.
Also, the flowers that are used here are not expensive flowers. When they have been highlighted and put into a special vessel, they're worth. They get energized. I mean, there's so many great ideas just here on how these flowers have been displayed. It becomes like a kind of installation.
I know, and just a single hydrangea.
Yep.
Oh,
Love it.
feels good. So the next time you and Stacy come to Milan, you have to stay in this guest room.
We would love it with the twin beds.
There's twin beds. They're little vintage bamboo beds that I bought for very little money on a hilarious, dumpy website in Italy. I'm shocked they even came through the mail.
Did they come with those tables?
Yes, they came for the tables. And so in the guest room, I love it. There's lots of little like energetic talismans. You've got lots of crystals. You've got a spiritual book. So I kind of like to infuse these rooms. Also, I've had a lot of healers and teachers stay here. So this is like, we call it the healer hostel. I think I mentioned that. It's
The
really
healer
fun.
hostel. Yeah. What I think is really interesting in here, it's a great, inspiration for people. These are incredibly high ceilings. You've painted this delicious green, but you didn't go all the way up. I kind of love how you left a lot of space and only clustered a few pieces to hang on the wall at a low end.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I don't know why I did that. That just felt right. A lot of the decisions that
Maybe because the beds were so low that it just feels cozier. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of the decisions that I make from a decorating standpoint, they're not prescribed, or they're not coming because this.
Oh, of
There's
course.
no like rule.
It's how you felt.
Yeah, it's a very feeling based.
I bet you hang pictures like me. I just go bum 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 bum. I don't even measure. I'm not good at that.
I had a really great handyman who was here helping me because I tend to like splinter off all the paint off the wall. I don't know.
But you did it perfectly. I mean, this is really it is a haven. It's perfect.
Thanks. So this is probably my favorite space in the entire house. It's the meditation room. It was actually a bedroom and I just left it empty, and I brought a friend of mine, an artist, Jay Lohman, over to recreate one of the Byzantine chapels that is in Ravenna. So he painted all of these stars on the roof along with the cross. And I do my meditations in here. I do my yoga. I do any kind of breathwork practice. My daily morning ritual is always done here. It's usually in front of this altar, which is an antique Tibetan altar that I put over a 1940s Italian console. And there's a mixture of many traditions used on the altar. You have the ancient Egyptian mystery school. I mean, you've got Mother Mary. You have Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri from the Hindu tradition and the yogic tradition. We have Saraswati. We've got a lot of, it's very representational, I think, of my practice, which is very multidimensional. It's very multicultural. It's very multi-traditional. And this is just a place for myself. I always tell people, in order to feel best, or they're always asking me, what's your routine like? The number one thing is carving out a place for you inside your home that can be for completely turning off, shutting down the head, and reawakening the senses, reawakening the heart, opening into your energy body, into your spirit, into your soul. So I'm doing that through singing, chanting, moving, breathing, and meditating. And it all happens here in this room. Here's another side of the room where I have a lot of crystals and some of the things that I use in my practice. What else can I tell you? This is a raise your vibration room. And this right here, what you see, I change the altars a lot. What you see right in front of me is a memento of my most recent trip to Egypt. We went with a group of 19 initiates, and each person is assigned a different temple where we go, and they each give out crystals. And so this is a memory of all the people on the trip. They've all been activated in sacred sites in Egypt, and then I come back and I create my own sort of shrine, let's say. So it's really powerful to create these spaces to bring your creativity to it as well as your intention. And this is really where I sit to clear energy as well as to call in more internal power and vision for what I want to create and how I want to be in the world.
Don't miss another video visit. Click on the orange Q to subscribe and have Quintessence virtually delivered from our doorstep to yours.